Hello everyone, happy Friday. And on today's video, we're gonna talk about two Christmas movies, Home Alone 1 and Home Alone 2. Home Alone 1, it was set in Chicago, and Kevin McAllister, he wakes up and sees that he's all alone by himself in the house. And that's where he delivered the line, "I made my family disappear." And he's just started to fool around. And of course, we can't forget the moment. We can never forget that. And but one of the things that irritates me more about the film series in part 2 more than part 1 is how they try to make Kevin McAllister as the black sheep of the family. I understand that it's a movie and that, it's fictional, but in real life this happens. Someone gets treated unfairly. They show favoritism to the other person more than that person. I personally don't like favoritism. I don't like people to be treated unfairly. And I just felt like the family was a little too much of a, making Kevin McAllister as a target, when indeed, not only he was one of the youngest ones of the family, but he was the brightest and the strongest one. So, growing up watching this movie, I hated Buzz. Ugh, so annoying. Even though there are, towards the ending of both movies, especially in Home Alone 2, he gives his praise to Kevin, but other than that, I just couldn't stand him. He was that annoying older brother that always wanted to pick on the little one. My favorite scene of Home Alone 1 is when when Kevin puts the spider on Marv's face, and the scream is probably the greatest scream in cinematic history. It has to be. I've watched so many movies and I've never seen a scream so realistic like that one. But supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not, but supposedly the scream was genuinely real, by Marv, who's played by Daniel Stern, because he's actually afraid of spiders. So I don't know if there's some truth to it, but if there is, then that's a fun fact. It was nice to see comedy legends Catherine O'Hara and John Candy, both of them are from Canada, to see both of them in this movie and actually have a scene together in which John Candy and his crew helps Catherine O'Hara drive all the way to Chicago, from the airport to Chicago. It was great to see them because the last time they were together, they were both part of a sketch comedy series called Second City Television, which ran for 6 seasons. So it's just sad that that was one of the last few films that John Candy did in the early 90s, because he passed away in 1994 and the movie came out in 1990. And gone too soon because he was 43 years old. He always suffered panic attacks and anxiety, but he ended up dying of a heart attack. But John Candy is a comedy legend, and it was just great to see him and Catherine O'Hara in this movie. Home Alone grossed $476.7 million worldwide, becoming the highest grossing live action comedy until The Hangover 2. And not only did great in the box office, but also made Macaulay Culkin a child star. And in the early 90s, he just had a lot of momentum because he had the Home Alone movies. He had My Girl, which came out in 1991, which is a very sad movie if you've seen My Girl. There's another one that I'm forgetting, but in the early 90s, Macaulay Culkin had a lot of momentum going for him. Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. I think that the first one is better than the second one. However, there are two things that I like about the second one more than the first one. Number one, the location is in New York. I'm a fellow New Yorker. And number two, I felt that the cast was better than the first one because in the second one, you had the original cast. You didn't have John Candy there, but you still had Joe Pesci. You brought back Joe Pesci. You brought back Daniel Stern, and you added Tim Curry, which is a phenomenal actor. You added Rob Schneider. They also had Eddie Bracken, of course, I can't forget about him, and Brenda Fricker. So the cast was better, especially the supporting cast was better than the first one. I just love that in the second movie, you have amazing shots of Rockefeller Center, Central Park, the Twin Towers. Like, it really captured the essence of New York City. And that's why I feel like the second one resonates a lot with me more than the first one. And in the second one, instead of leaving Kevin at home, they lost him at the airport. Kevin took the flight to New York because they were all going to Orlando, but the family went to, no. I won't say Orlando specifically, but it was Florida. And Kevin went to New York. And I feel that for any kid, the second movie could be more frightening than the first one because you're in a whole different state and you're by yourself and you know where you're gonna stay. So that was genius writing from John Hughes. The performance was great, just like the first one. I just felt like there was something about the first one that it made it stand out more than the second one. After so many years, there's one scene in Home Alone 2 that I said, haha. And that scene is when Kevin McAllister is walking on Central Park in the nighttime and he's seeing a lot of creepy people around him as he's walking past by them. That area is so familiar for me. I think it's on 76th, 77th Street in Central Park West, because before the pandemic, I was working in that area at a place called New York Historical Society, and it's in that avenue right there. So seeing that scene, it just brought back memories of 2019 when everything was still gray, before the mask and all this whole pandemic. But I just find it interesting that after so many years, after so many times watching that movie, I finally peeped that part. But I have a long time. I haven't seen Home Alone 2, so it was refreshing for me. Home Alone 2 became the third highest grossing film of that year after The Bodyguard and Aladdin. So it's not a surprise because, you know, you saw the success in the first movie. Even though the second one didn't equally matched in the box office compared to the first one. But both movies are great, and it really, I mean, I just say God bless Christmas movies. I'm a sucker for Christmas. Anything that is Christmas related, I'm all in. Doesn't matter if it's a movie or it's a show, theater, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm always grateful and excited to just be part of all of that. And speaking of Christmas in New York, I was very fortunate to have gone to the Radio City Christmas Spectacular show twice, in 2013 and 2014. Always go to see the tree. That's the biggest upside about living in New York around this time of the year, that there's so much to explore, there's so much to experience. And I still feel that there's probably a little bit more that I need to experience, such as and this is in Brooklyn. Oh my God, I'm forgetting the name. That is with a lot of decorations and things like that. It's somewhere in Brooklyn. I'm forgetting the name. You guys probably know what I'm talking about. Damn, I'm forgetting the name, but I had plans of going there like about 2, 3 years ago, but it's so much better to drive over there than to take the train or bus because it'll take a while to get there because it's pretty deep compared to where I live. So, but Christmas time in New York is special. I also would like to see where else outside of New York that I could experience Christmas sometime in the future.